And here we are today. Welcome, as it is, to our lunchtime Sunday session. Back on schedule, get your stuff right, get it planned, get it on time. So that's how it is. And today, discussions. When the guys get here, we've thrown out a special invite to our mate Lance, who posted the other day in the group. So good on him for taking the courage to post like that. And I'd love to have a conversation further on that subject, on similar habits and how I've conquered it and stuff like that. And Muzz should be getting along at some point. So that would be good to have a chat with those guys and on all our addictive habits and things like that. So, people sometimes don't realise they have an addiction, and a common addiction nowadays that people don't realise they have is doom scrolling or revenge scrolling. One of those things, you get your phone, you might have gone to bed, but then you sit there and you're scrolling whatever social. And then it's also the same here. It could be catching this live because you're either scrolling at lunchtime, like it is now lunchtime for us, or scrolling at night time for other people in those parts of the world. So that's how it is. That is a habit that can be problematic. You can become non-productive in the world, and that's a common habit for kids these days and stuff like that. What's going on the laptop? Something else is going on here. And anyway, so cruise along through Sunday, and looks like we've got a visitor on, one of our regulars. And as the phone goes bzz, bzz, goes off, we're getting there. And that's, so doom scrolling is one of those addictive habits. How you going, Muzz?
Good, Stu. How you going?
Mate, absolutely winning these days.
Awesome to hear. That's what we want to hear.
Yeah. So I was just discussing with the people about addictive habits on the back of Lance's conversation, and I congratulated Lance on the courage to post in the group about that. And like I said, we've invited him here to join us today if he gets on. Otherwise, he could be working like most of the people.
Absolutely.
And,
No, as I said, I haven't heard boo, but yeah, we might be lucky to see him.
Yeah, you never know. It is Sunday lunchtime. So,
absolutely.
So I've sort of discussed one of the bad habits of doom scrolling, or the different ways that people do it unknowingly, knowing they've got that habit. So like revenge scrolling, going to bed, you do it in your lunch break, you just sit there and you just absolutely minded scroll till something catches your attention, which is sometimes how we attract people in these videos, because we're live and it goes through the algorithm and works like that. But then understanding that can be a habit and a problem, because you'll be inattentive to what's going on around the local environment, or you could be ignoring conversations or be rude by not participating in conversations. And then you go through this emotional roller coaster. You go, well, they're not talking to me, so I'm going to scroll more. And then you go home and you go, well, I don't really want to go to sleep, but it's bedtime. So you get in bed and you're doom scrolling there. And then you're not going to sleep, fighting your circadian rhythm. And there's all these habits that then upset the biological system that is the body that wants to go to sleep. You've got this blue screen in front of you for half your day, which is a major problem with kids these days. That's one of those problems. So do you find yourself, you do that, Muzz?
I'm awful for it, Stuart, to be honest. And I was saying to someone the other day, so I mean, like, social media is one of my biggest things, like you're talking about. So I have Facebook, I have Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok. Another one that's lesser known, but is Pepper, which is a cooking social media app. And I hate seeing notifications on my phone. Like, on your phone, you have like the number of notifications that come up. I want to them. So I'll open each one to get rid of them and see what's going on. But while I'm here, I'll just quickly have a look.
Yeah.
Now, so there's 5 or 6 apps there that I'm checking out, and it's no trouble for me to lose an hour if I'm not aware of it, or 2 or 3. Like if I'm on a day off, I will just and that's why I take doom scroll to heart, because it feels like you're doomed, because and there's when I've been sick scrolling. Yeah, the old thing of if you study watch TV too long, your eyes only go square. I swear I felt my eyes go square. Like I was sore.
Yep.
But another one, like, and that's just for leisure, but also there's times where, and I'm sure you can relate and others can relate, you're looking for new parts, or you're looking for maybe a new vehicle for work or for business or even for pleasure, whatever. Lately, I'm possibly looking at a new vehicle.
Good old
So I'm
Facebook
scrolling through
Facebook
Marketplace, Gumtree, car sales, truck sales, etc., etc. And I'm lucky for my situation. It doesn't affect. I generally don't let it affect me in a social situation, because if I'm with someone face to face, the phone's in my pocket or on the table. I know that on the table is rude. Don't criticize me, but it's not in my hand. I'm not looking at it when we're supposed to having a beer and catching up, or figurative beer. But the nighttime scrolling is a bad one, because, like you said, it's bad enough through the daytime, but at nighttime, when, as you said, you made me think before, it's a biological thing that when it's nighttime, it's dark, and all of a sudden you're looking at a light. So your body goes, oh, hang on, I'm awake. We're supposed to be doing stuff. And I don't sleep very well because of it. And I know it.
Yes. And that's I also have a lot of the same habits with the doom scrolling in bed. So, and the reason how I've conquered that is you make the conscious decision to not touch your phone, and even put it. I've got the office desk over here and the bed's over there. So if I leave the phone over here, I can't be in bed scrolling.
Yes.
So you force that change of habit, or I've now got to a point where I don't think I've got that problem now. If I pick up my phone when I'm lying down to go to sleep, it might be answer a message, and then I put the phone down and roll over and face the other way. Put the phone face down so the light's not going off. Sleep in a pitch black room. Try all that sort of stuff to correct that rhythm, because and when you get going in harvest and seeding and you're awake for far too long, and then you do pick up that habit again, and it's not unusual for me to pick up that habit, and suddenly you've lost 2 or 3 hours out of that 6 hours that you might have needed to sleep, and then you're back up again. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, and you go, "Fuck, now I'm tired, and I've got to be up in 3 hours," and then you start stressing over being up in 3 hours, and then you get this loop that you go down, and suddenly you're a walking zombie doom scrolling to things like that, and then you get to the end of the week, or like Lance said the other day, one of the coping mechanisms to stop the doom scrolling or the anxiety depression loop that you do under those sort of stress situations is you have a beer. And then it's when to stop having a beer. Like, I took to heart Lance's conversation the other day, understanding the phases I've gone through in drinking beers, and had discussions with my son, because he's witness to the whole lot, and the different habits. So over the times when I've had in another house, another place, actually not even just in the other house, even when I come here, there was a time when there was 4 Jack Daniels cans a night. That's six standard drinks every night. A carton a week. Might get a day off, because the math doesn't work. To go 4, that's 24. You need 30. 28 to fill out the week. But because you buy them in 24 packs, you just have a day off, or you might have 3 a couple of days. But anyway, that's far too much drinking, and what that does to your body, and the stress and stuff like that. So then I worked out And it was a forcible change that I had to go. I was like, all right, that's an issue. Because I'd get to a day, and I did exactly what Lance did. All right, I won't drink during the week. Friday comes along, and I'm still drinking the whole carton for the weekend. But then Sunday, when I'm meant to be doing washing and stuff, I'm hungover as fuck. Absolutely useless. And I'm saying to the kids, I go, no, don't talk to Dad today. He's got a headache. He's hungover. Right? This is what hungover looks like. Don't drink. It's bad for you. Rinse, repeat, week after week, and do it again. So then the young fella's, he's going, Dad, you've got an issue. I've gone, yep, you're right, 100%. I've got an issue. So we similarly had an issue at going out to the footy club. Happened to be the point, and it was like, what is my limit to stop to then be home one at a decent hour and not have that one too many to be a bit shit the next day? You know, how to try and be as close to 100% the next day, but you've gone out and been sociable, whether, like Lance said, birthday party, you know, work Christmas party, then you go to that, you know, you go to the Nutrient Christmas party, then you go to the Elders Christmas party, and then you go to the Delta Christmas party, and then there's another, you know, harvest is finished, or, you know, mustering's finished, so you go to the pub and have a couple, and there's always an occasion or excuse to have a couple. But what is that limit? And I tried different limits from time to time. We went, all right, so now we're going to go, the limit was no more than 4 cans of Jack Daniels was my limit. And then I just felt that wasn't the right recipe because I wasn't getting better. Regardless of the years and years of drinking Kangen water and stuff, I wasn't getting better. The aches and pains were still there. That was maintaining a bottom level type thing. I wasn't getting to a midpoint. So, you know, the knees were still sore a week later to go play footy, you know, train. So I'm not healing. And then that triggered me. I had most of a year where I chose not to drink, which was really hard for me.
Yeah.
To go from that type of beverage to no cans of Coke, soft drink, stuff like that. No beer, no nothing. And that was a challenge. And off the back of that, I was able to find a lesser limit on where I would have 1 or 2, and I took away the weekly beverages. We changed that habit, so we have just the weekends, or the current routine is 1 out of the fridge after footy training, 2.
Yep.
Yeah, so not 2, just 1, because then that's an extra 1, and then you don't come home and have another 1 with dinner. You've just had that 1, and then changing to, now that I've changed to I suppose it is a boutique mid-strength beer. Is Matt says a mid-strength beer? It's a 0.9 in a bottle anyway.
Is it? Oh, there you go. I actually thought it was much higher than that. So
gone from a can of Jack's at 1.6 standard drinks per can to a bottle of ginger beer, boutique ginger beer, fancy pants, with 0.9 standard drinks. But maintaining that mental limit to go, okay, 4 is my limit. Then it's time to go home. If I've had my 4 by 6:30 and we've had dinner at Fruity Club, that's it. Go home. Knock off. Because if I stay in that situation, like staying at the pub or whatever, you just want to have one more, and you're in the circle of the group and the kids are playing, and it's all right. You just have one more, and then suddenly you've had 10.
Yep.
And you go, oh geez, I'm really risky driving home now, but I'll give it a bit, and maybe I'll go. But it's those habits, and it's been a real, it's a challenge, but it's a mental thing that you do every day now. And like Lance was saying in his thing the other day, it's an every week acknowledgement or an everyday acknowledgement of the journey to not slip back into those old habits. Similarly to doom scrolling, it is the same mindset and the same tactic to, do you set a timer on your phone to get rid of the push notifications? Do you, yeah, or you set a timer, and when the timer goes off, you just got to get off. Then there's delete the push notifications off your phone. You can do that through your app, so don't send them.
Yeah.
So you're not disturbed by them, so they're not trying to catch your attention, because that's the way they work. They want you to spend as long in the app as possible. So
Absolutely.
they put things in front of you to keep you in the app. That's how the algorithm works. The phone's always watching. You know, Big Brother's watching, whether it be Alexa, Siri, or Elon. Everyone's watching.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You can't escape the bloody stuff.
That's right. But yeah, that's some of those really addictive habits that are probably close to all of us in essence. And that's probably a partially, the drinking certainly been an Australian habit for a lot of us. It's certainly a rural habit that we can change.
Absolutely. But I think to a certain degree, because funny enough, I've given this a lot of thought over the last year or so, but to a certain degree, drinking's always been around, but I think it's gotten worse, and I'm going to put a guesstimate on it, in the last 20, 30 years, purely because of convenience. The fact that once upon a time, Australians and English have always liked to drink, but you know, once upon a time, everyone had to go to the pub to have a drink, and so they'd have a skinful there, come home, and sleep it off. I mean, yeah, they could drink as much as they like, whatever. But the fact that we can now go to the pub, you're in the atmosphere, you know, and you have that one more, leading to 10, 12 more, but then you can take a block and go home as well. And you've got that access to having a drink in your fridge all the time. Like Lance said, you know, and one of his tactics, which I like, which I mean, it makes so much sense because, you know, it's a habit to break, is not having that cold beer in the fridge sitting there waiting.
Yeah, put it in the storeroom.
Put it in the storeroom, you know, and ready for that night when you're going to have a drink again. Right, we'll put some cans in the fridge, or stubbies, whatever you're going to drink, in the fridge, ready to rock and roll. My biggest habit is having a stinking car fridge on the car all the time. There's another level of convenience that we are all in the truck. Facing. Yeah. So we had one in the truck as well, and so it's always there. You know, mine turn it on in the morning as I get in the car, so you know it's right to go. These days it's soft drink, water, and zero beers. But that was the trouble, is that a year ago, I'd fill that up in the morning with cans, ready for that night. And, you know, 5 o'clock it would be my thing, but, you know, maybe 4:30. Maybe 4. Yep. Or if I was, you know, if I think I've been sort of doing all right, then the lunchtime beers come in, you know, once a blue moon. You know, I'll stuff it. You know, I've worked hard. I'll have the afternoon on the cans. Check a few windmills. But as you say, it's I actually visited a friend of mine yesterday, and it was a bit of a test for me because, I mean, I've had a few drinks with people, but, you know, he's a friend of mine who I haven't seen in a long time, in over a year, and he and I've always drunk together. And he was surprised when he realised I still wasn't drinking. He knew, but anyway. But for me, that was a test to be in a social environment not to drink. And I think this is one of the tougher ones, like you were saying, and Lance said the other day, is doing the socially acceptable thing to be at a party or an event and drink. And I think that's one of the toughest things I've always come against when I said to myself, righto, Wednesday's my day off. But when I first started playing around with not drinking, Wednesdays is my day off. But what if someone rocks up? What if an event comes up? So you're looking for these excuses already to break the habit. But I think it's trying to train yourself that when somebody turns up, if you have a designated day off, so like, you know, you guys are saying having the week off, I you know, and I've always said that's a pretty tough thing. Like, bloke I would deal with in Geraldton, he has his weekends off. He and his wife have Friday night off, Friday Saturday, Sunday nights off, which I think would be even worse, living in town on a weekend. But he said, well, we're not working, Muzz. Anyway, but it's a matter
Well,
of...
you're right. And it's the environment and the social network that you're in that creates the challenge. So if you're going to a place, for example, a footy club, and the footy club has the habit of after training beers, and then after the game beers, and there's beers till midnight, and old habits of me in my 20s, and the sort of stupid games you played, lots of 20-year-olds still do it, is literally how much can you get in your throat in 3 or 4 hours, and can it not come out is the game. But they chase that limit, or but it's the beers after the footy club, and you've had a good game, you've had a big win, and then someone goes, come to my place for a house party. So then you get the block takeaway, and then you go have a crack at smashing the block off for the night. And then you've had God knows how many beers, 40 or more in one night. And then you wonder why you feel crap the next day. But at 22, it doesn't hurt so much. But at 44, I'll give you the tip. It's a challenge.
And it's exactly the same. Well, and you're so right. This is my friend and I were talking about exactly the same thing last night. You know, damn near word for word. I mean, we're a bit younger than you, but same thing. Like already now, you don't bounce back quite so quickly. And the fact that we used to buddy same thing. You'd have a party when I was living in Perth briefly, working down there when I first left school. Have a skinful and go to work the next day. I didn't do it very often. I wasn't quite that tough, but it was sort of, But now the getting up in the morning and here's a question for you: if you have a big night, do you get a bit sore, or drinking full stop? Do you get sore? Do you get aches and pains?
So it's not the drinking itself that gives me the aches and pains. It's the activity that the drinking's associated with. So if I go shearing, I'm already sore before that beer's cracked. But does it make the recovery process harder because you're poisoning your body for that couple of hours to numb the pain, or whatever excuse you want to come up with?
Absolutely.
And it's the same with football.
Yes.
You've taken a heap of big hits at footy. You've had a great defensive day because I'm a backman. And then you go, I've earned that today. But you've already been run over by a truck a dozen times. And so you are going to be sore anyway. What I did find, though, in that time that I had not drinking, was in those days, the recovery time was like 1/4 for not drinking.
Yeah.
Even limiting the sugary drinks, because we have access to this awesome water, and then making the conscious choice to go, all right, I drink that during the day. What if I have my meal and have a spacer can, cool drink or whatever, because you can't drink alkalized water with a meal. So you have to digest the food. But then you get to an hour after a feed or something, you go, all right, if I'm going to be there, I can just be hanging on to my 2-litre water bottle and just sitting there sipping away and be in that social circle, but being a water snob. And what I found in doing that, and the boys gave me heaps for it, that's all part of the conversation. If they're talking about you and what you're doing, you must be doing something interesting. So, is that a bad thing? But the recovery time that I found from that, I'm still utilizing some of that. So I've regressed into a form of a habit of having a few beers, but it's a lot less beers and it's a lot less often nowadays. And then factoring in how much water I can drink. So do I have, before football, how close to 4 litres can I get in during that day?
Yes.
Or before, the night before, that's not including the night before, when I've got to have 2 between dinner and sleep time, because I don't go to sleep until 3 to 4 hours after I've eaten. So you got to digest the food and stuff like that. So that is there's method in the madness. And then
Absolutely.
having that's the bonus of having access to the greatest water I can have. And like yourself, same sort of thing. Modifying that habit and then finding what works for me. So now I reckon at 44 now, with the biohacking I've done and the supplements I take and the access to the water I drink, I am fitter now than I am at 40. Understanding how the body works with the reduction of testosterone and all these other things, the NAD or NMN things that you take, and the Shilajit and the Tongadali and all the natural steroids that help you. I'm one of those idiots, right? I've tried them all, and still
Good on you.
still take some that I believe work for me, whether it's a placebo effect or not. But the other, I haven't done them today, to be honest. But yesterday I smashed out 50 push-ups right quick in the morning before going to work.
Well done.
Because the young fellow was on a punishment, and it's like he goes, "Well, if I got to do it, you got to do it." I said, "Right, down now, done, smashed them out." Right, I've done them. You got to do them. You can't call me out, and that's probably a personality defect, I suppose. When people call me out, I feel challenged to achieve. So that's a personality type. So someone wants to call me out on the footy field, and vice versa. When I call people out on the footy field, it's to challenge them and myself to achieve to a higher standard, to see who has the higher standard. So in the case of football, you win some, you lose some, and the older you get, you just tend to lose a few more. And that's the way it is. Because there's always that young fella or that guy that's 5 to 10 years younger who's just a bit quicker on the pivot, and he runs around you and he gets them. He could just jump that couple inches higher, and those things start to add up over your 40s. But that's the journey and the advantages of drinking and water and doom scrolling and working out all these habits. But probably one of the coping mechanisms to conquering a habit is acknowledging you've got a habit that needs to change.
Absolutely.
And I think Lance nailed that on the head in his conversation he had. I'd advise people to scroll down the group and go watch that video, because he had a lot of great points in there. So that's the thing. So reasons why did I start an online business? It was I worked out, had a problem with not enough cash flow. How do I create more cash flow? All right, so this is one of the ways I create more cash flow. The bonus is now I get this hydration technique that I worked out. Well, okay, so maybe I am thirsty. It's not just a thirst trap.
Yeah.
There's a maybe I am thirsty. So then I started making life changes, and then you start making diet changes, and then you go, hang on, well, what else can I optimize in my life?
Yes.
To then go, all right, so now you get to the woo-woo stuff, and we start talking about vision boards and visualizing things that you want and finding steps to achieve them. And sometimes Facebook Marketplace is the evil you have to do to find that vehicle that might suit your business, right? There is ways. But, for me to, so Nigel the Nitro came off a buy and sell page on Facebook. But had I had it up here, and I had a dream and a thought after buying the other swather, I thought, nah, I regret. So when I bought the original one, the original one didn't come with hydraulics to run the swather, but I wish it had, because I bought a header front that had a nitro adapter on it, but couldn't use it on that nitro because I didn't have the hydraulics. So that would be cool. But but I turned that swather into a header front, so I had a bigger header front, so mix and match and made it work, which I've now retired that. But then you have the dream of, what if the swather was on the nitro? You've got a bigger tank, you've got larger range, you can do a larger rows. Geez, that was an experience this year. We'll go down the rabbit hole for a minute.
Absolutely.
swathing the neighbour's canola crop, his
Yep.
Roundup Ready stuff. So you got to swath it so it's ready to harvest, because it Roundup Ready canola you can't kill, like desiccate, to ripen at a certain time. It has to go through its natural cycle. Right? So you swath it, because once you cut it off, that's it. The stubble might keep growing, but you've cut the thing off so the top of the plant will dry out, ready for harvest. That's why you do it. But then swathing his well-grown canola crop, and how big the row was going under this nitro, and me having to push the wheels out so the row would fit underneath.
Oh, wow.
In some spots, and it was just about touching the bottom of the nitro, because when you swath it, it sits on top of the stubble first, and then gravity takes its thing and it sinks in.
Yes.
Right? But you're doing this job, and there's this huge row coming out underneath, and that was an enjoyable experience. I can't wait to do that on my own. I've just had a few glitches in the matrix that I didn't grow a similar type canola crop, but next year the plan is to grow a canola crop that I can do exactly that with, because that's why I bought this machine. But that's all part of realizing the manifestations of the dreams that come along. As I wanted a nitro, then a nitro. I came with a bit that went on a nitro. I could have turned into a swather. Then I went and bought a little swather that didn't quite work. So then we adjusted the dream to then go, all right, this is exactly what I wanted. So how am I going to get it? So that's the progress of the manifestation. You've got to be looking for it. Yeah. You want a new truck or a new header. I still look at headers every other month. Farm machinery sales, what a header's going for, what's mine worth? Not a lot. What would it cost me to get into the header that I want? What color is the header that I want? Does it have I want a track header, because I'm just a track guy. I almost had to reconsider that after changing a track on the quad track last weekend. The challenges with tracks, tires have challenges, but tracks have equal challenges when things aren't 100% right.
Yeah.
But
if you not just a
if you do the dollars and cents on them, if you do the dollars and cents on them, it can be equal or better, depending on how you do your maths. But if one track lasts 10 years on a quad track versus the grip analysis of a set of triples on a tractor.
Really?
So how much of those three tyres cost? And the economy changes over time. So it used to be a lot closer than it is now. You could be talking 15 grand a corner now. Or you're doing 11 grand for a track.
Yes.
Believe me, don't buy those cheaper 8 grand tracks. I've never bought one. Everyone I know that's bought them has had bad experiences. So the 8 grand tracks don't work. You'll buy 2 tracks or more in the time that you put one decent track on a track machine. So then
spend the money.
You go, if a tyre or a track lasts 10 years in the tractor sense, because you're going to grind them against the ground, you're pulling stuff, it's slipping, you're prematurely wearing the rubber.
Yes.
That's the analysis. So the rough cost is at 15 grand for a set of triples. And I'll give you the tip: you don't do one set at a time on a tractor. Where I have the ability to do one track at a time, it doesn't upset the balance of the machine. With a tractor, you have to do front half, back half, or the whole bloody set. So either you're spending 60 grand on tyres or 44 grand on tracks at the one time, if you want to go that far. But then you break that down over a 10-year thing, and that's the wear part on your tractor. That's what your $500,000 tractor is. But every time I put a new track on my quad track, it just about doubles its value. For how old it is and how many hours it's got. It's certainly served its time.
And I mean, you still got to look after it, but it's and it's just so interesting talking about things like that. And I wonder how you got on the track the other day, because a bit of experience now there's some bits and pieces happening around here. I was introduced to a track bobcat the other day, and oh man, that was a bit special. Only purely because I've only ever operated anything with wheels, and you know they're fine, they're the job and all the rest. But I like the stability that this thing had, and the fact that where I was having a play with it wasn't any risk of a flat tire. But the thing was, I didn't, you know, I know from what I've heard that's not an issue. It's just a matter of, you know, probably taking care of it, not screwing around too much, which I'm sure is probably still the same with your rigs. But it just makes sense
to a certain degree, because I've got the little dingo mini digger up the shed, and that has a track version, and but that's for sandy stuff, so that's a flotation issue versus an access or ground compaction issue because that machine's so small. But then, you know, when you start talking, what's a quad-track weight? I don't know if they're 12.5 or 16.5 ton in a tractor. It's a big rig.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so they move a bit of earth, and I was explaining to a bloke the other day. I said, when this thing pulls, I swear I can change the earth's rotation. It pulls that hard.
Yeah.
Like when you know, over the years, the quad track did a hub a few years ago. You couldn't get hubs. That's how you know you're flogging a dead horse, when you can't get parts, or parts are coming not just from over east, they're coming ex-Canada, and they found it in a scrapyard in Canada because they don't make them anymore.
They just don't
you can't update that machine because that machine is built that way. If you've got to go, so the 9000 series quad tracks are different to the STX series quad tracks, are different to the Steiger type quad tracks now.
Yes.
The systems are different. The track system. So that's how they get you. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
John Deere does it too.
Yeah. You're not safe from commercialism, my friend.
Yeah. It's also the same thing with the trucks. So,
very much so.
Me buying some well-aged trucks, it is really hard to get parts.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, probably that's a different situation, but, you know, trying to keep trucks going and have parts, or, wrecked a hot pipe. So if you know, trucks, air compressors, they got a steel pipe that goes out to the cooler so you can cool the air before it goes into the system, right? And then, I don't know if you've frozen, Muzz, one of us is glitched. I'll keep rambling. Oh, Muzz dropped out. So for the people that are watching, hot air compressor, hot pipe comes out. I crushed one, and then you can't buy that bent up pipe in that system. You can buy a length of pipe ex Sweden, because that's Volvo truck parts are made in Sweden, and that's all the fun and games. So it's having old stuff. One thing that's not old that Muzz and I have access to, which is where this conversation was going round and round and round, is the machine on my kitchen bench is now 4 years old. It's not old. The company is over 50 years old, but the parts in that machine are still the same as what they were making 20 years ago. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So you can get your machine fixed and stuff like that. So the backup, the support, and the parts is second to none, because they are OEM, original equipment manufacturer. They make everything in-house. So you can get filters, you can get O-rings and stuff in kits that are this exact size to go in, whether it be the share head or whatever other parts of the machine that you might accidentally wreck an O-ring or lose one or something, versus having an O-ring kit that I've got down the shed to then have to try and find the perfect size O-ring. Is it 10 mils, the 12 mil. No, it's not the 12, it's 13 or whatever. O-ring. Oh, that one fits. Yep. Oh, it's not thick enough. It's a thicker version, not the thin version. And, all these issues you can have. So that's probably enough chin wagging for us, because whatever the time factor is now, Muzz's phone might have got hot, but maybe that was his trick this week. Is yeah. So that's it. We've talked about habits. If you catch the end of this, we've talked about habits, about doom scrolling, drinking habits, and the environments and stuff, and then we got to there's what we want in life, and trucks and tractors and things like that, and cars. So what we're exposed to as far as environmental shopping things, whether it be Amazon, Temu, if you want that sort of stuff, and whatever else, Shopify, all those things are exposing us to buying products through our phone. It is that easy. And then Facebook Marketplace. So, all that sort of exposure and the risks that come with that is, the fun and games and habits that you'll have to watch the rest of the video. Go back and watch the start for the chin wag that Muzz and I had about how we conquered it and how we're aware of it. So that's solutions given, problems talked about, solutions given, and I'll leave it with that. Signing off now. Thanks to all the farmers that grow all the food. You're doing a wonderful job. And thanks to all the truckies that cart the goods around Australia and the rest of the world. You do an awesome job. Thanks to all the service people that have protected our way of life and continue to make our way of life safe. Thank you for your service. Peace out. Have a good one, people.